Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to Pieces of the Puzzle, or the Puzzle as we might call it, with Bruno. I'm Isaac. I'm here with my friend Bruno. We're both two business-minded engineers. We love innovation, and we like to discuss about how to solve very complex challenges in ways that are better, faster, and generally not as hassleful as what usually happens in innovation and product development. So today's question is one that troubles a lot of people, especially those who need to do something totally new. And the question is, how do you approach segmentation of a new market, new to you, something that you want to serve in a way that other people haven't done before? So how do you approach this, Bruno? How would you say you would do this?
Well, let's just give a quick rundown first, very briefly. So traditional way to segment markets was through demographics, meaning where is someone geographically, their age, their income, their education, etc. And we learned that isn't the best. Then we went to psychographical way of segmentation, which was adding disposition, different profiles, preferences, etc. And then in recent years, we got more and more different fields coming into segmentation, offering their ways to it, because historically it was the job of a marketing department, and they always segmented from the perspective, okay, how do we market this product? While in the last, let's say, 15 years, there's been more and more emphasis, okay, how do we segment this from the customer's perspective? And one very powerful way to segment is by focusing on understanding what the customer is trying to accomplish. Not when they're using your product, but in general, they have some task. They set out to do something functionally. What is that? And who are these people? That's sometimes called this jobs to be done. Focus segmentation. I see finger. Go ahead, Isaac. I see you.
Yeah. I think one of the way, I agree. One way that you could argue this has changed is that we went from an externally imposed kind of market research push view of things. This is how the world is: demographic segments based on very quantitative, sometimes criteria, to go into a customer pool where you look at, okay, fine, yeah, you can be startle, that sex, gender, whatever, you can be on this location, that postal code, doesn't matter. What do you want to get done? And so it flips the whole thing on its head, and then you pull from the end of the chain, like totally customer focused, lean, if you want to play this lingo game. And this has changed quite a lot. I think it's, and I don't know how you do this if you are doing something new. You start from scratch and you start doing what? Demographics of who? The user, the buyer, and with what data? In fragmented markets where there is no research? Or will you first pretend to be a FMCG company and build a huge department of psychographic analysts, whatever they used to have, and do market research the old way? So yeah, I think there's no other way of doing it. If there is, I'm happy to know it, but
I mean, the reality is that most of the companies don't have access to impressive budgets like the giants that do this type of, that they go out and they hire a marketing agency or other type of agency to bring them back data. So some people try to short circuit this process by buying market research. It's usually not bespoke, but it's general. In the last episode, we were talking.
It's very often garbage. I don't know if you've seen the PDFs. Wow, amazing garbage, but go.
It is. I agree. I agree with you. But you mentioned last time basically about keeping options open and parallel exploration, and this is kind of really currently the best practice, and that is narrowing the uncertainty around this new market that you're entering in all the possible ways. And you don't do that by doing just one thing. So if you heard about this lean startup where you would go and do customer interviews, get out of the building as soon as possible, or maybe you heard about design thinking, how you should do ethnographical studies with your potential customers. All of these are fine, but in isolation, they're going to fail you. They're going to disappoint you. You have to be basically scoping out this new market that you're considering to enter and trying to enter in a multitude of ways. You should be talking with customers. You should be doing back of the napkin analysis, like, okay, what is actually the size of this? What is the right combination to slice and dice this market? The blue ocean strategy that talks about blue oceans versus red oceans. Blue oceans are found, they're not invented. Some would disagree, but I think they're primarily found. The way to find them is to find a new way to look at what constitutes a market. And I love this arena way of thinking, which is basically looking at there's a person and they're trying to accomplish something. It has two elements. Like Isaac is trying to get this done. Bruno is trying to get that done. Can I try to generalize that? So first I need to check if Isaac and Bruno are really trying to get that done. If I am successful, that is kind of, there's some sort of validation to that. Okay, can I generalize this? Like, is there enough of Isaacs and Brunos? Like theoretically, is there enough of them to even make sense for our business? Because if you're a, I don't know, $1 billion business, finding an opportunity, a new market that is few millions might not be meaningful to you. But if you're a startup and you find a 10 million euro market, that might be attractive to you. So it all depends, and you cannot have absolutes and just count on that.
Yeah, so in a way, it depends on who you are, how you segment, how you approach it is who you are, where you come from, and in a way, it is also telling about what you are not and what you cannot be. This might mean also that you start segmenting and understanding the customers and figuring out ways to slice the cake. Because I remember one of the business cases in the business school was, hey, look, segments do not actually exist. I mean, it's just a way of putting things into buckets and saying, this is segment A, this segment B, this segment C. Especially nowadays, the way that people arrive at your value propositions, at your products, the way that the customer journey is so convoluted, they might look at something on their phone, which they might mention to a friend because their friend also saw it on TikTok or wherever, and they might discuss, then they might start to think about it. It is not anymore linear. Not that it was ever linear, but it was less of a mess because now it's omni-channel, multi-channel, whatever you want to call it. Nowadays, it's difficult to say, this is the way of slicing the whole world. So you need to be more prepared to have this great view of things and to refine what you're determining to be the segmentation. And maybe one way of doing it is to understand what drives the problem. You mentioned earlier that you need to understand what Isaac wants to get done, but it's also important to understand assuming that Isaac wants to do something, how is Isaac getting the work done now, if he's doing it? If not, maybe it's not worth getting into this problem-solving arena. Or maybe there is a way to provide something that is decidedly better than what the customer has been doing, which brings us back to, you know what, I think those little pieces of the puzzle, they end up being very common sense. Like, obviously, you need to understand the customer. Wow, what wisdom, right? But it's easy to say, very difficult to do. Wow, so, amazing wisdom.
To tie into that, one common mistake I see with segmentation is that, okay, we propose some best practices currently to segment, but what I often see is companies go and they try to slice this new market they're trying to enter, and then they end up with segments that are overlapping. And that's exactly what you want to avoid with segmentations. You want to find distinguishing groups of people or whatever. For them to distinguish, they need to distinguish from each other somehow. Of course, they will have a base of shared, not functionalities, but traits. Of course, that's normal. But between them, they should be distinguishing enough so you can focus your efforts and attract them. Another question I often get, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say the word orthogonal, for those who are more technical-minded, we're looking for orthogonality, that they are as different as possible. Even more geeky, like eigenvectors, this is the direction it's going to, okay? But, okay, I stopped there.
And another thing tied into that is a common question, okay, Bruno, like, what's the right level of abstraction for a segment? Like, should I have a persona? Should I have some sort of statements? Should I have a long list of descriptors for this segment? Unfortunately, we said this is the puzzle. There is no single right answer. The single right answer is the correct level of abstraction is the one that helps you make a decision that helps you in the market.
So you will only know after the fact, in a way. But one way to know that you are headed in the right direction is You know this. We're talking the last time about the uncertainty, the feeling that you're not sure. Okay, you will feel better. Okay, this is as much as I can tell you. You will start to say, yeah, it makes sense. Now I see that this person whom I've met in real life is probably in this segment, and that other person in that segment. Why? Because obviously this person has these requirements and this kind of view of things, and this person has this and would go for a different price. You will know it, because you'll suddenly have a moment of clarity where not everything, but things will start falling into their place, the piece of the puzzle in a way of segmentation. So you will not know it beforehand. I think it's impossible to know, because effectively it's a search and exploration to define that, and there is no freelance in search and explore or in search optimization, which means you cannot know a priori. You have to dive into it to come to approach the conclusion that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Yet another not very good, not very happy answer. Huh? So people expect this is how you segment. No, it's not.
But I'm just checking our stopwatch. So 10 minutes to wrestle with a question disappeared. And like last time, I will allow myself to break this once more, just to briefly share that when it comes to segmentation, the biggest opportunities are finding segments where you are over delivering, not under delivering, over delivering. Those segments where you can remove parts of your service, parts of your product, and your customer will not care. Now, those are the opportunities, the golden hands that's possible to find through segmentation. And that's why it's worth going through the effort.
This deserves another 10 minutes. Jules, we discussed this because it's a very good point, but we'll take this, we'll tackle this on a different one. Okay, so goodbye.